Good morning, students, and Jai Hind. Uh, we are on the topic of that's specificity of Indian industrialization. Understand? What is the specificity of the Indian industrialization? And we have seen that in our previous class that among the three sectors. Understand? Or in a now the in a historical phase of the growth, industrial growth or the agricultural and the tertiary sector, we see that now our historical develop phase of historical development had been the quite different from the western phase of the development. In the west, first the agricultural development or they experience the now the in the agricultural revolution, and then after they had their the industrial revolution and a full-fledged industrial revolution, and then after they got into a growth of the tertiary sectors, a huge growth, a tremendous growth happened in field of the tertiary sectors. Understand? But if you compare the Western or the European say growth system or the industrialization, so that is the quite different from our country. Our country neither experienced the agricultural revolution nor experienced the industrial revolution, or it is the neither the full-fledged experience the tertiary sectors has. Only the students or that is the our agriculture system remained the backward. Most of the population segments now engaged in the agriculture, dumped into the agriculture, are drawing a very little which contributes contributes a little bit in the our national growth or the GDP, and on the industries we remain the a very few 17 or 18% industrialization happened in India, and in the GDP no remarkable contribution from the industrial point of view, and moreover tertiary sectors now a little bit, a little extents made a remarkable development and contributing more, more and almost the 50% of the GDP. Understand in comparison to the agriculture sectors or the industrial sector. We have seen in our previous class students. Now we are going to see here what is the conditions or what is the industrial growth in our country. If you make its comparison or if we compare it, this industrialization in India with that of the developed countries. Understand? In that respect, we said we have to be the compare that difference is between developing and developed countries is the number of people is the in regular salaried employment. One thing is that in the developed country, take the example of the developed country, number of the large scale people and the almost the number of the people is the regular salaried employment. They have the regular salaried employment. Large number of the people are employed in the as a salaried employment. Second is students now employment or in developed countries the majorities are the formally employed, or we see that in the developing countries majority of the peoples are the employed there formally employed. Second thing is that in India 50% of population is self-employed. In our country if you see that if 50% people are the India it comes under the developing countries, and 50% population of our country is in the self-employment. Understand? Poorly. And moreover, or self-employment, only about 14% are regular salaried, or 14% are employed in a regular salaried classes. Employment, they are the in the regular employment, and moreover, employment, while approximately 30% are in casual labor, or amongst that 30% are in a casual labor, means they now seek every day for a new work for the employment. Every day they now make their efforts for the employment. Every day students. Now second thing is that, or approximately 30% are the casual laborers. The every day they go in a labor market for getting the employments there, and moreover, and laborers. The adjacent charts show that changes between the 1977, 78, the 1919 and 2000. Economists and others often make a distinction between the organized or formal unorganized sectors. Another thing is that if you compare on the basis of the organized sector or unorganized sectors. Now students, you will well know that which comes under the organized sectors. So let's see, first of all, informal and the unorganized or the informal sector, that also can be the called as the formal or informal. Also the called can be the called as the organized and unorganized sectors. Understand? So here there is a debate over how to define these sectors, how to define the organized sectors and the unorganized sector. This is the much difficult for a person, but even then, according to the definitions, organized sector consists of all units. Organized sectors are consisting of the all units from top to bottom, employing 10 or more people throughout the year. Organized sector is that sector in which 10 or more than the 10 people are employed, understand, throughout the year. That is called the organized sector, and these have to be the, and moreover there are certain conditions must be happened and must be have to be the called as a organized sectors. Now they have to be the registered with the government. Every organized sectors, formal sectors, must have to be the registered with the government to ensure that their employees get the proper salaries, and through that they make the ensure that their employees are getting the proper salaries or the wages, and moreover pensions are also given in that pension system. The organized sector, the employee get the pension and other benefits. Benefits also. There are so many benefits you must have studied in your previous classes in the economics. This chapter has been given the just organized and unorganized sectors. You know very well. I know. And salary, pension, and other benefits in India, over 90% of the work, whether it is in agriculture, industry, or service, is the unorganized or the informal sector. 90%. What a miracle in our country! In 90% of the three industrial sector or agriculture sector or tertiary sectors, 90%, understand, employees and services are now comes under the unorganized. What a miracle of this country! 90%, understand, and we are seeking the development and the well development of the nation. 90% now, we can say in other words, in 90% people are under the extreme exploitation. They are working under the exploitation. Understand? Or this is the system of our nation. Second thing is that here we can see 90% work, whether it is in the agriculture, unorganized, informal. What are the social implications of this small size of the organized sectors? Now, there are many of the uh, uh, many of the implication of this small size of the organized sectors. The small size of the organized sectors, understand, has also the many of the implications. Second thing is that first it means that very few people have the experience of the employment in the large firms, and this is the what this means. I have talked about that. If only 90% people 90% people are in unorganized sector, only 10% people have the experience of the working in the large sectors or the formal sectors. Understand? Only an employment have the firm where they get to meet the people from other region, and where they get the people from the other regions and the backgrounds. Urban settings to provide some correctives to this. Your neighbors in a city may be from the different place. In the urban centers, your neighbor be from the different place, but by and large, work for most Indians is still in a small scale workplace, and the work for whatever the may be the your neighbors may be from the different parts and the regions. But what about the employment? The now most of the peoples are still are the small scale workplace they are the working. One thing is the very clear. And moreover here personal relationship determine many aspects of the work. Or in these industries or in these working places, the personal relations and the personal aspects plays the very important role. Relationship determine the many aspects of the work. Here, if the employers likes you, you may get a good salary, and if you have a fight with him or her, that you can lose your job. That is the very clear, and this is the different from a large organization with a well defined rules. And other hand, in the large organization, what do you find in the large or established organization where the well defined rules are there? Second, recruitment is more transparent. Recruitment is more transparent. No personals, the personal recognition or the personal relations determines your employment. And moreover, there are mechanism for the companies. There is mechanism for the complaining, where we can complain and redress if you disagree with your immediate superior, and there your relation is redressed. And through the mechanism, if you have the conflicts with your immediate superiors, that you can have the under that mechanism that will be the settle. Second, students, very few Indians have access to the secure the jobs with benefits, and we see that very few Indians have the opportunity to secure the job with the benefits of those who do two-thirds works of the government, and only those who are getting the works in the government, their jobs is secure, they have the benefit. But apart from that, the persons who are the working under the these unorganized sectors, they are suffering and the subject of the. This is why the government jobs are so popular, or this is the reason that in our country we are people are the running after the seeking the government job, and the government jobs are so popular. Understand? There is job security, there is many benefits, okay, leaves and the no exploitation. The wages are given properly. Understand? Or the job is much more that the job is secured there. Understand? But in the private and the other unorganized sectors, your job is not secured at all. Understand? So that is why the government, the rest are forced to depend on their children in their old age. That is why those who are the working in the private job, unorganized sectors, they are the forced to depend on their children in the old age because they have nothing with them after the retirement, age of the retirement. So this is the one. Second thing, government employment in India has played a major role in the overcoming the boundary of the caste. Although government's job have played the very role in the overcome the caste system, religion on the region. One sociologist argued that the reason why there have been the never a communal rights in the place like the village, it is the because it is the public sector village plants employees from the different parts of the country and from different beliefs. They live together and understand, and they have developed a communal, develop a harmony. Understand? So this is the reason that no riots happens there, and there is a social peace. Understand? Or as well as in the government service there is social peace. People are the belonging to the different parts, and they have the amity amongst them, harmony amongst them. Okay, the students, now moreover we can see that other trend, others may question this. Third, since very few people are member of the union or a features of the organized sector, you see that in the organized sector, very few people are the member in the organized sector. Why? They are the satisfied. Their now increment, their all emoluments are given properly in the government sector, and moreover they don't have the experience of the collectively fighting for a proper wages, safe drinking conditions. The government has laws to monitor conditions, so the government now monitors the conditions and provides them the facilities what they need, safe drinking condition, laws to monitor collections in the unorganized sectors also. But in practice, they are left to the whims and the fancies of the employer or the contractors. But that in the, if you see in the unorganized sectors, understand, the employers are left to bear under the control of the employer and the contractor, or the whims and the fancies of your employers. Understand? So here we see that now in the organized sectors, what are the benefits of the organized sectors? We can see, or what kind of the what is the difference between the developing countries condition or the developed country conditions, organized sectors and unorganized sectors. Or moreover, students, we have to be the see industrialization in early years of the independence India. Now we see that after the advent of the British or the British people in our country, the British, then after the process of the industrialization or process of the capitalism or individualism began in India when the British advents happened. Understand? Or after that, gradually after coming closer or the getting the experience with the British, understand? So then after the gradually the industries began to grow in our country, and particularly in the Gujarat or in Bombay and the Ahmedabad or the Madras or the Calcutta, the industries, certain industries now started making its way, making its way of the rise. The first modern industries in India, particularly the first time in our country, the industries now grew, where the cotton industries, jute, coal mines, and the railways. These were the big industries which began after the advent of the British in our country or after independence. The government took over the commanding heights of the economy. After the independence, the government will make the under the Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, who wanted the industrialization of our country. So the government now took the commanding heights of the economy. But this involved, or then the government now tried to make the many of the progress or the walk a role towards the development of the involved in the development of industries, defense system, transport system. It was a required communication system for the growth and the development. Industrial development, power was required. Mining, other projects, heavy projects were chalked out by the government of India. Only government had the power to do, and this had been done only by the government of India. No, the private sectors was allowed. Understand? Only government of India had, and which was also necessary for private industries to flourish. But government thought that a certain privatization is also required because government wanted the rapid growth. So apart from the governmental efforts, the private investments and the capital investments is required for the growth of the country, for the growth of the industries in the country. So that's why the Bharat Sarkar and the government of India, in India, the mixed economy was a mixed economy policy was adopted by the government of India. Understand? Mixed economic policy. It means that the public sector and the private sector existed simultaneously. Understand? Private sector and the public sector both, understand, were let allowed for existing for the growth of the industry. And moreover, the two privates, while the other were open to the private, sectors were reserved for the certain sectors were reserved for the governments only. Heavy sectors, understand, or the big sectors were left in the hands of the government, and certain sectors were left in the hands of the private owners. But within that, government tried to ensure through its and now within the private sectors, government tried to ensure, understand, by the licensing system. Licensing policy the government launched. Bharat Sarkar and the government of India started the licensing system. Even in the private, did not freely allowed. Understand? And the industries were spread over the different regions because the government now allowed the private industries. Understand? Through the licensing system. This was the given at tried to ensure. Moreover, before independence, industries were located mainly in the. Now we know very well, students, that at the British came to our country, they had made the only cities developed and trade and commerce system developed only on the banks. Banks city just a coastal area because you know that the three presidential, understand, presidential presidencies were the Kolkata, Bombay, and Madras. Understand? This around this the industries and the growth, the industrial and economic growth happened tremendously. But since then, we see the places like the, and apart from that, Baroda, Coimbatore, Bangalore, Pune, Faridabad, Rajkot have become the important industrial centers in our country. Later on, these after the independence, these centers also emerged like the Baroda, Coimbatore, Bangalore, and Pune, Faridabad, Rajkot. This area also got developed, and the government also tried, and the Bharat Sarkar made its efforts to encourage the small scale sectors Particularly, we know that the small scale sectors were emphasized here, and it's because now we have the no capital in our country. India is a country where there is a lack of the capital. So, with a little capital, many small scale industries could be opened here. Understand? And the government small scale sectors through the specific incentives and assistance. The government now started the launch the small scale industries, and the government provided the incentives and the assistance to these small scale industries. And still the government today, our government is now going to emphasize the small scale industry. This is the heart and backbone of our country. This is the hard fact, and only the way the developing to make the India development. Understand? Which had been enshrined by the Gandhi. Gandhian philosophy is still existing and under 100% true. A small scale or cottage industry or a small scale industry, the Gandhi always emphasized. Now there is a good ground for India. India like country as a nature and topography of the India. Here only the small scale industries can make the India prosper and self-sufficient and reliance. Understand? The huge industries, there is no room for in the India for the large scale industries and capitalist here. Okay? And moreover, many items like the paper, wood, Bharat Sarkar also emphasized on that. Paper industries, wood industries, products, stationery, glass, ceramics were reserved for all scale sectors. Now the small scale reserved for small scale sectors. This production of what? Wood industries, paper, decent paper, wood industries, stationery, glass, ceramics. ये जो this production we are now reserved for the particularly reserved for the small scale production and sectors. In 1991, large scale industries employed only 28% of the total workforce. Only the 1991, when after that the Bharat Sarkar adopted the policy of the globalization and policy of the liberalization. Understand? So since then, 1991, large scale industries employed only 28% of the total workforce engaged in manufacturing. 28% people were engaged. And while in the small scale industries, traditional industries employed 72%. Traditional industries, small scale industries having the 72% people engagements were in our country. And the huge and heavy machine only 28%. We can see that. And even in England, if you see the history of England, now the industrial revolution happened. Big machines, big factories opened there. But even then, what happened? What say? For the 50 years, centuries, the small scale industries established around the big cities or these big industries and functions as a cooperating the big industries. Understand? Supporting the big industries, the small scale industries supported the big industries there. So why such certain kinds of the projects and the ways should be adopted in India? Understand, in a very systematic way. So then we can reach at the growth of our country, and we can take our growth in our country. Understand? So as students, today the industrialization in the early years of the Indian independence, आपने देखा भारत सरकार गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया how emphasize in the early, taking later on licensing system, जैसे globalization. I will teach you how the government followed and they removed all the trade and tariffs and opened the gates for the influx of the multinational factories in our country. Okay, so the next topic shall be globalization, liberalization, and the change the Indian industries. You have already studied this. I know very well. But one thing I have to teach and we listen once revision will be there. Okay, you know very well the globalization or liberalization policy and its Indian industry impact on Indian industry. Later in the class. Okay, thank you.